Hello and welcome back to another episode of CP 2049 Solid State Society. Tonight with us we have Bo playing Elias Green and Doc playing Detective Purcell. It has been some time since we picked up the story with these two characters. I think it's almost been 2 months. So I will do my very best to give an in-depth recap from the perspective of these two players and these two characters. When we last left in the last session, Elias was back at his shop. He has Detective Purcell's car with him, and he's feeling mighty fine. He's had a very good payday, and he has helped the detective gain access, infiltrate the Daybreak Syndicate. While he's enjoying his time in the sun and all that money and new clothes that he has bought with that money, he is contacted by an old friend of his, Val. It turns out Val is no longer in Icarus. He has fled these shores for a brighter future on the mainland. But he's worried about a friend of his, a hacker named Neuroshima, or Neuro for short. He asks Elias to do what he can to find out what happened to Nero. In the beginning, all Elias has a name, Nero, and that's all he has to go with. He does his own research because Elias, after all, is a man of the street. He knows what's wheeling and dealing within Little Wing and the streets of Icarus in general. He finds out there's a bar called the Untitled, where most hackers generally tend to frequent. So if there's anything about this character named Neuro, it should be there. He makes his way to the bar in the early morning, and there he ends up, befriending and making a contact of the bar owner, who goes by the name Gabe. At first, there's nothing much to discuss because the name Neuro doesn't ring a bell. Hacker handles are way too many, and it's extremely difficult to identify just a handle to an individual. Elias reaches out to Val again, saying he needs something more to go with. Val returns with another name, Quasidomo. Armed with this information, Elias is able to make some headway. Gabe does remember Quasidomo, and he does remember a very interesting exchange that happened in his bar, The Untitled, which involved Quasidomo, a socially inept hacker, a lady wearing a mask, and a killer standing by the door, keeping an eye on the whole transaction. He's not sure what was being discussed, but he knows that some software, something with extreme capabilities, was discussed, because Quasidomo is not someone who lightly comes out of the shadows to meet hackers in a place like the Untitled. What Gabe also remembers is the way the deal went down, where the hacker left the premises, leaving the rest of his group with a lot of questions, very little answers. Gabe doesn't know much more about that, but he at least knows that the lady wearing a mask could be a compatriot to this hacker. With that, Elias, on his way out, is stopped by Gabe as he remembers that there was another aspect of this story. He remembers that the lady with the mask was actually the one that was sent here to deal with him, was the one that was sent here to make some deal regarding some software. Though he doesn't know her name and he never quite got it, he does remember who sent her, a man named Zamir, who works out of Little Wing. Val knows, or at least has heard of Zamir. It's kind of like a Santa Claus in Little Wing, an old chap, does a lot of pro bono work for most of the people in Icarus. Both of them are puzzled as to how somebody like Zamir would come in contact with such undesirable individuals, but that's a question left another day. With that, Elias leaves the bar, heads back home. Elsewhere in the city, Detective Purcell has just returned from an extremely interesting experience at the Daybreak Syndicate. He has found out certain things about the case and about himself, and as he's dealing with it and these revelations, he realizes that there has been no headway on the Icarus PD's investigation regarding the warehouse explosion, the original mission that he was sent to Icarus for. Purcell reaches out to Elias, says he's coming to pick up his car. He makes his way, they exchange brief words. Purcell talks Elias into helping him further. He needs a contact at the docks. He needs to find out for himself. He cannot wait for Icarus PD to get their act together to really find out what went down there. Elias, greedy as ever, agrees to help for more money. He has a contact named Boris on the docks who generally helps him smuggle in goods. But that is neither here nor there. And they decide that they would meet the docks later in the day while Purcell goes and checks out what's the holdup at Icarus PD. On his way to the Icarus station, Purcell is going over all his notes, trying to see if he missed something. He re-watches the interrogation video of the street urchin they picked up, who saw what went down from a third person's perspective. He's the one that actually pointed him to the Daybreak Syndicate. And as Purcell is listening to that interrogation again, he catches a word that he missed before: helicopters. Helicopters kind of swoop down in and destroy the place. Helicopters, though, are common in Icarus. Helicopters like these are not common. Purcell proceeds to work his magic on the computer attached to the car and runs a whole bunch of data queries on flight paths on the day the warehouse went up in flames. He finds an extremely interesting coincidence. 6 helicopters were flying that night, but they were not tagged. They did not have a transponder number, they did not have a tracking ID, they had no flight plans filed. Furthermore, these 6 helicopters did not just stand out. Purcell had to sift through all the various flight paths to find that these were actually running or flying directly below additional helicopters that were just going about their business. Some pretty fancy flying. And when it came time for these helicopters to enter the space near the warehouse, Purcell found that the data was mangled, fuzzied up. This is high-tech counterintelligence software, and at this point Purcell feels that he's dealing with something bigger than just a warehouse explosion. Eventually he makes his way to Icarus PD, and when he goes into the offices, he notices other strange things. All the cops are wearing combat body armor. The desk sergeant that he had made a contact with is not at her desk. There are various pictures and images of mayhem in a marketplace, massacres outside a dive bar and a laundromat. He notices this, but he doesn't have enough information and chooses to file it at the back of his mind and makes his way into the office of Lieutenant Adams. Lieutenant Adams seems mighty pissed. Further discussions reveal that 2 of his officers were gunned down. One of them was Sergeant Olivia, the desk sergeant. She and her partner were returning from the warehouse with evidence collected, and she, on a last communique to Lieutenant Adams, said that she had found something very interesting, something that would point to some major players operating in the shadows of Icarus and who could have been linked to the explosion of the warehouse. It turns out that Sergeant Sylvia and her partner received a phantom distress call from another Icarus PD officer. They were led to provide backup in an alleyway, whereupon they were murdered and the evidence stolen. This now has brought the investigation to a standstill. Lieutenant Adams does not know who in his precinct he can trust. Furthermore, he brings to Detective Purcell's attention that his coroner found some very interesting aspects about the murder of Sergeant Sylvia. The police officers were shot execution style, 2 shots through the chest, 1 through the head. The shots through the chest were grouped perfectly. These are no street gangbangers. These are highly trained assassins. He also brings Detective Purcell's attention to the chaos that's been happening elsewhere in the streets. At the same time that Sergeant Sylvia was murdered, Sector 6 went up in flames. Rockets were fired in the main marketplace, causing a water tank to explode. Nearby in a dive bar, multiple Chaos Gang members, a known gang that operates within the stacks, were found murdered. Not very far from there, in a laundromat, additional Chaos Gang members were murdered. And this is where it gets very strange. The gang members had sword wounds on them. It seemed that they were in a sword fight. Lieutenant Adams, he's keeping this information on the down low because no one in the precinct will believe him, and frankly, it doesn't quite make sense that someone would bring a sword to a gunfight. Purcell and Adams talk further. They devise a plan. Purcell is going to work out of the system, out of the precinct, somewhere where all the stool pigeons in the precinct won't give Purcell's game up to whichever hand that is feeding them and wants information as to Detective Purcell's movements. He also plans on using the Icarus PD mainframe to find out more about the helicopter flight plans. Through Lieutenant Adams, he gets a name of a hacker who's able to do this. A person named Quinn. And he says this individual could be found at the place called Untitled. Armed with this information, Purcell makes his way to the docks, where he links up with Elias Green. They exchange pleasantries as usual, and Elias's contact, Boris, is seen at the docks heading towards them. And at this point is when Detective Purcell's sixth sense is blaring away. He doesn't know what it is, but he feels both him and Elias are being watched. And as he looks around, in the nick of time, he catches the glint of the sun on a sniper's scope. He pulls Elias down to the ground just in time as the window to the car explodes in a million shards. And that is where we ended the last session. And tonight's session we are going to pick up from right there, in the heat of the battle. Any questions?
Negative.
All right. And at this point, nobody got a drop on each other. We're going to go into open initiative. And let's do this. Let's go ahead and roll your initiatives.
I'll take the 6.
Nice.
I forgot to use that before. I get to roll 2 and take the highest.
Oh, nice. Awesome. All right.
Yeah. Detective Purcell has alert. When you roll initiative, roll twice, take the best result.
Nice. All right. So at this point, you guys are surrounded by what looks like highly trained professionals. One of them has a sniper rifle, and that's the one you caught the glint in the sun. Just as that shot, hit your car, another car comes careening around the corner, and two individuals jump out, and they start peppering your car with bullets while you guys are hunkered behind it. And that's where we'll pick up with Detective
And
Purcell.
can you remind me where Boris is?
Boris was coming down. Let me show you. He was coming down this way, right? And he was kind of further away from you when this whole thing broke out, and he chose to dive behind those boxes there. That's a symbol showing that he's not in the fight. He's just hunkered low to the floor and trying to keep himself safe.
Okay, so he's off in that back distant area.
Correct. He has not been hit or anything like that.
Okay.
Forward, like Elias is coming forward, like, hey man, long time no see. Then, bam, then everybody just dies.
Exactly.
Okay. What window was blown out?
I would say just flip the car like 180 degrees, and it would be your left driver's side window would have been blown out.
Okay, so it was the driver's side window.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Elevated position. Two guys who just came in cars, firing. Elevated guy in with a sniper rifle. Driver's side window blown out. Us behind the car on the opposite side, hunkering down. Oh, shit. Well, Detective Purcell, immediately as the crack of the rifle goes off and kind of shatters the sound. The sound shatters through the air. The glass breaks. Him and Elias hit the ground behind the vehicle. Purcell immediately reaches for his weapon and pulls it out and backs up against the vehicle. And after backing up against the vehicle, I just reach up with a hand to open the door on the side that we are on.
All right. But you can still take an action. That you can consider most of that as your movement. Are you going to try and shoot at those guys?
Yeah, Purcell's going to actually, with the door open, he's going to yell at Elias, "Elias, get in the car!" And as he's yelling at Elias to get in the car with the door open, Purcell's going to pop up over the hood there and fire at whichever of these guys on the ground.
Perfect. That would be this guy.
Is most visible, yeah.
Yeah, that guy would be the most visible.
So Purcell's going to take a shot at him and duck back down.
All right. Oof. Nice. How does that look? And this is happening because of who you are, correct? Remember that.
Yep.
How does that look as you one-shot this guy?
So as soon as they pull in, Purcell immediately takes note of where they are, where the car is. He flings the door open, yells for Elias to get in, and he comes popping up behind the hood of his car, or behind the engine block of his car. Leans on it just slightly as he brings the gun up, and as he brings the gun up, he practically catches eyes with this guy who's almost directly across from him. And as he looks him in the eye, he uses that as his target and fires. As he fires the weapon, it just hits him straight between the eyes, and he drops to the ground. And Purcell dips back down behind his car.
Nice. He's done. this guy, seeing that uh, his compatriot is down, he chooses to he starts running this way, and he's kind of now closer to Boris, and he's looking at you guys through like an angle of the car. He doesn't have a clear shot, so you'll have some negatives, and he's going to try and shoot at you, Purcell. Which is a miss. As he comes running across, he's trying to get at you, and you guys, you are kind of hidden behind that door that's giving you some cover. But with him running, and he's using the submachine gun to burst at you, the shots go wide all around you, and it doesn't find you. Elias, what are you doing?
So as all this is going down, Elias is just kind of hunkered down with the shoulder blades pressed up against the wheel well of the car, and it's just bam, 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 burst fire, and just probably like bullets tinkering off of the car, and maybe some more glass shattering as Detective Purcell wants him to get up into the car. He's like, "You mean you want me to get in that driver's seat where the sniper bullet just went through that window? Fuck you!" And he kind of grabs his submachine gun from under his trench coat and kind of rolls out, kind of onto his right shoulder, kind of looking at the guy here as he kind of darts across towards Boris. He says, "Hey Boris, you got an incoming!" And he lets out a motion his submachine gun from behind cover. Should I do burst, yes or no?
Up to you. If you do burst, generally you get a modifier that adds, like, you lose more bullets, but then at the same time you have a higher chance to hit because it's kind of like a spread.
Yeah, it's probably more thematic to do that.
Nice. So your bullets do find purchase on this guy and you hit. But you realize the way your bullets are hitting this guy, it's going through his armor. It's definitely hitting him, but his armor is pretty strong. And that's when you realize that in a situation like this, where things just turned on a dime, Purcell was still able to get a headshot, which is, you've never seen skill like that before. And you realize this at the back of your mind, and you shoot this guy as he's running. You can see that your bullets hit him. He kind of staggers, but he's continuing to run towards Boris.
Boris, watch your six. You got one coming around.
All right. This guy on top, he is going to move down, and you can hear the bolt action go in, and he's going to try and shoot at Elias, seeing that Elias is shooting at one of his partners. Hold on. Where is this guy? This guy's thing is not set up. Come on. There we go. Okay, great. So let's see if that works. There you go. So Elias, you're sitting there. you are behind the door, and he you, you you kind of hunkered behind the door. You definitely, your head is not above the glass or anything, but you hear the shot go through, and you hear an explosion on the side of the door, and then you feel like hot searing pain on your side. um, Given that the door took some amount of that damage, um, you get hit for 6.
Yeah, so he's kind of perched on the side of the door. He feels the recoil of his submachine gun. He sees his bullets hit his target, but doesn't seem to slow him down much. And then, before he can even duck back into cover, here's a shot ring out. It's almost like he's back into cover and he feels something sticky on his side, followed by a searing pain. He's like, "Ah, this is not good. I got one in the side."
Detective Purcell, you're up. You see Elias has been shot, and he's bleeding profusely on, from the side.
Yeah, Purcell reaches into the car, and he hits the computer panel in the driver's seat there, and starts setting the car to on automate, and grabs Elias and starts pulling him into the car. "I told you to get in the car!" And he starts pulling Elias into the car, setting the car on autopilot, and hitting the emergency button for evasive maneuvers.
All right. And when that happens, is the car just kind of driving around the docks, or are you basically exiting the docks? Are you like running away from here? What is happening?
Well, it's evasive maneuver, so I'm guessing the car is on autopilot. It's just immediately going to kind of start moving in an erratic fashion in this area around. I'm going to try and once we get in and start moving a little bit, take over control and grab Boris too.
I see what you're doing. Okay, sounds good. Perfect. So you get into the car. You're able to pull Elias in. That's your collective movement action, and you basically are able to jam the car into autopilot, and it starts moving and zigzagging towards, this guy over here. That's happening, and then this guy starts seeing the car move, and kind of coming towards him. He realizes he has a choice to make, and he chooses to kind of, before going for Boris, duck behind this the same box but on the other side from where Boris is, and he's trying to find you guys, and he's continuing to shoot at the car more towards the engine block to try and disable it. All right. Detective Purcell, you hear the submachine gun pointed at the car, and you can hear the bullets hitting your main engine block, and you're not quite sure what it's hit, whether it's critical or not. There is now smoke starting to come out of the front, the front of the car.
Fuck. And Purcell pulls the steering wheel as hard as he can to try and turn the car so that the length of the car will give us protection from the sniper.
All right.
If we have to exit the other side again.
All right. Perfect. That's good. I think I have mental image of what you're trying to do now. Sounds good. Elias, it's your turn.
Okay, so Elias gets pulled up into the car, and he's trailing a slick of blood behind him. He's like, groaning in pain as he goes into the car, and as it makes a swift turn, Elias Green is pushed up against the side, and he kind of checks his weapon and kind of looks out. Like, where is Boris in all this? Are we between the attacker and Boris?
Let me do this, okay? So that it's a little easier. So you guys are somewhere over here. This guy is somewhere over there, like kind of here. Boris, on the other hand, is hidden behind these wooden boxes there. So it's kind of like a triangle, right? And now, the way Detective Purcell turned the car, the front of your car is pointing not that way. It's kind of pointing towards where Boris is. He's basically put the long side of the car towards the sniper, so that you guys have a little more armor between his weapon and your body.
Do I have any line of sight towards the other guy?
Not from. I mean, you do. If you kind of pop up in your seat and shoot through the windshield, you would have a partial line of sight. I would give you like a -1 to hit.
Yeah, I'd ask Purcell. It's like, Purcell, I go for Boris, or you need some cover.
And Purcell will just yell, or just excitedly yell back at him in the other seat. I need some cover. I'm gonna take the sniper out. We'll get Boris after these guys are dead.
Cover applied. He just kind of, he's kind of bleeding there, and he, movie style, pops up his right hand over the top of the car, sprays the area.
Nice. Go for it. Nice. So at this point, you do hit him, and you are now like you can see that you're hitting him, kind of diagonally across his body. You can see some shots hit the body armor, but some shots actually get through, and you can see him kind of jerk back in from the pain.
Elias just kind of drops back down to the sleet, into his seat, clutching his left flank, and then empties his clip and grabs me with.
Nice. The sniper sees what you guys are doing with the car, and he's gonna try and shoot the tires of the car at this point. So let's see if he gets that. That would be a -2 to hit a moving target like that. He shoots, and you can hear like the explosion of the sniper rifle, but you don't feel anything on the car. As far as you know, he did not hit the car. Purcell, you're up.
Yeah, Purcell immediately slams on the brake just to bring it to a screeching halt, kind of skidding just a little bit. And as he hits the brake, at the same time, he reaches down with his hand and punches the lever that pops the trunk. And as he punches the lever that pops the trunk, screeching to a halt, Purcell is going to, with the momentum of the car coming to a screeching halt, fling the door open and roll out and start making his way to the trunk, trying to use as much of the car as cover as he can.
Okay, sounds good. This guard, seeing that he's been hit by Elias Green, he is now going to go around the boxes, and you guys lose sight of him. You're not quite sure if he's shooting at Boris or not at this point. Elias, you're up.
Elias, as the car comes to a stop, he's thrown again against the passenger side door. He kind of pops one eye over the window You can see one eye searching the environment, kind of looking for threats. Kind of with his hand that's not holding this weapon, he kind of brushes away the broken glass. You can hear it clinking onto the pavement. And every time he moves, just has a searing pain in his left side. And he searches the area, like the corner of the crate, providing further cover for Purcell. And I just want to ready my action that if anybody pops up in line of sight, I will take a shot, but not until then.
All right. And as that happens, you guys, at least Elias, you see it. Purcell is still making his way to the back of the car. You start seeing Boris run out of that area, and there's like bullets peppering his feet as he's running out. Boris is now in the open. He's being peppered with bullets at his feet from the back by one guy, and he's now fully in the open for the sniper to take his shot. Detective Purcell, how well are you hidden there?
I mean, I'm probably not completely hidden. I mean, I'm pressed up against the side of the vehicle. So let's say, the back of the vehicle is here and the front is, over here.
Okay.
I'm on the side of the vehicle running towards this back trunk area, pressed up against it, but still, for anyone looking, down and across the scene here, I'm kind of out in the open too.
I see. Okay, perfect. So the sniper, he's going to basically choose. He sees you kind of roughly in the open. He sees Boris fully in the open. Let's see what he chooses. Choose high or low, Purcell.
High.
He sees Boris run out. He sees you. He sees the car, and he decides to shoot at Boris. Let's see what happens here. Ooh. And let's see, running target -2. So he sees Boris run out, and he chooses to shoot at Boris. But Boris is no slouch either. He's really putting his legs into it, and you see that he shoots. Boris is untouched, and somewhere further down into the water, there's like a huge as the bullet hits somewhere further down. Purcell, you're up.
I finished making my way back to the open trunk of the car, and as soon as I reach the back of it, I grab the back of the trunk to slow my momentum and spin around. As soon as I spin around, for that brief second, my heart beating extremely fast because my back is facing the sniper. I reach down into the trunk and I pull out the shotgun that I have down in there.
Nice. Give me a moment. All right. So if you click on your token now, you should see under weapons, and you click weapons, you will see there's a combat shotgun right there. You can go ahead and use that.
Yep. And as soon as I pull the shotgun out of the vehicle, I immediately basically bring it down, spin around, and try and fire up at the sniper.
Nice. Go for it. And the shotgun, it's a combat shotgun. It has burst as well. If you want, you can choose to use that. It fires
I'm going to
3
use.
shots.
You don't need that. You don't need
Yeah. If I'm not firing burst. I'm putting it into just a single shot.
Okay. Nice. How does this look as you take this guy also out in a single shot?
So, like I said, he reaches the back, he grabs the shotgun, cocks it, and then spins around, looking straight up to where he saw the initial reflection of the scope, and fires straight in that direction. as the shot goes up, shatters, the weapon he's holding and into his face, and he just comes tumbling down off of his platform.
Nice. And as you take that shot and you bring him down, Boris is running towards you, and he's now kind of gotten past the car. He's further down. The other person comes running out, and he now sees two of his compatriots down. He understands what's happening at this point, and he kind of puts the brakes on, whips around, and starts running away.
I should have had a ready to action though.
Yes, you do.
Pointing from around that corner as soon as he pokes his head out.
Go for it. Take that shot.
And I need burst.
Yes.
So I'm not that good. Yeah.
So you see.
Scare him away.
Yeah, you kind of pull your weapon out and you shoot at him, right? And it doesn't find, it doesn't hit him at all. But how does that look?
So Elias Green is bleeding. He has a lot of pain in his left side, but he's been on the mean streets for a long time. He knows how to deal with a bit of pain. He's been shot before. He's got a lot of anger in his heart as well. And has his weapon kind of perched up over the door of the car, over the window that's been shot out. And he's like, "Come on, show your face, motherfucker." And as soon as that guy comes around the corner, he lets off another burst, and either sparks as the bullets miss and they hit the railing behind him, but then the guy just does a total 180 and doesn't pursue Boris anymore. That's what I thought! That's what I thought! He kind of, again, puts his left hand down to his side. That's slicked with sticky red blood.
Nice. And he turns around and starts running in that direction. Purcell, you're up.
Purcell, seeing him turn and run, immediately just heads after him.
Nice. Okay. So you run towards him, and you kind of you get there, and you kind of just see him running, kind of coming across the corner. You kind of both in a standoff at this point. Like, he's further away from you, so you take all your action to get there. He's just running around the corner, and you basically are now guns pointed to each other, and we can take simultaneous shots. Kind of like a movie style. He runs around the corner. He has his weapon already drawn. You come running around the corner, and you kind of face off, and instinctively pull the.
So whoever rolls highest gets first. Oh.
Nice. So you are able to bring him down also again with that single shot, and he in turn does hit you. But however, give me a moment. I have to calculate your damage a little differently. Just had the page open.
I am going to use my expert ability on this.
Okay.
My expert ability, once per scene, as an instant ability, I can either choose to negate a successful attack roll against you or turn a missed attack roll you made into a successful one. So I'm going to use my expert ability. As I came around the corner with my shotgun and we turned to face each other, I immediately went into kind of a slide, fired my shotgun at him, and when he fired, it went right over me.
Nice. Awesome. Just so that holds, and that's perfect. I just want you to know mechanically how much damage you would have made, so in the future you have that for your reference. it's not 11 damage. In your case, it's actually 3 points of damage. Okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's perfect. So you both of you kind of round the corner, and you turning the shotgun in time and shooting from the hip. He shooting from his hip with his submachine gun. You're able to get out of the way, kind of like in a movie Matrix style, and still cap his ass in turn. Nice. And with that, we drop out of initiative, and you guys are free to roleplay.
After he drops, Purcell will put his hand down on the ground and he'll stand up. He'll cock the shotgun again just to make sure that it's chambered, and he'll walk over, look at him, make sure he's dead, holding the shotgun aimed at him the entire time. As soon as he's sure he's dead, he looks around, spins around, and walks back to Elias. Are you okay, Elias?
And Elias, once in his life, doesn't play it up. He kind of stands up from the car. You can obviously see that there's blood coming from beneath his overcoat over his left flank, and he's grimacing a little bit. He says, "Yeah, I'm fine. Boris, get your ass over here, son. You almost bit it. Where are the rest of the boys?"
And as he's talking to Boris and getting him over there, Purcell walks back around to the trunk of his car again. I'm assuming, since this is kind of his office, field office, he does his field work from here, he probably has some kind of first aid emergency pack in there. Immediately grabs that, tears it open, walks back around to the front where Elias is, and slaps some dressings on him and tells him to hold pressure.
Elias does so and kind of nods a knowing nod, realizing that Purcell probably understands that he's injured more than he's letting on. Just, "Here's your boy there, Boris. Talk to him. I'm gonna get patched up here. I'm sorry for not following your advice. Yeah, I could say I paid the price."
And Purcell gives Elias a concerned look. Doesn't say anything. Gives him a concerned look, though. And at the concern is obvious to Elias as well. He kind of furrows his brow and looks right at him just to make sure that they're on the same page. And then he turns to Boris. "All right, what the hell is happening here?"
You tell me. I'm here because of Elias. He called me here. Next thing I know, there's shots everywhere.
And Purcell looks around. He said, "Either way, it's not safe here. We've got to go." And he looks back at his car, just smashed up, shot, engine block smoking, full of holes. He just shakes his head and lets out a sigh. "God damn. Get in that car." And he points to the car, the other car that the shooters arrived in. And then he goes to Elias and puts his hand out to help him up off the ground.
Elias gets helped up. Yeah.
I just want to confirm, you are going to leave your car here, the dogs, and get into the other car, correct?
For the time being, yeah, he's gonna grab everything he needs out of his car, whether it's the computer, if it can detach, the gear that he has in his trunk, anything that he has personal in there. He's going to reluctantly pull out everything he can and go get in the other car and tell Boris to get in and help Elias over to it as well.
All right. So you are able to pull out most of the stuff, and give me a notice plus wisdom roll. Nice. You're able to pull out everything from the car, the computers, all of your case files, and you think you have got everything, and then you suddenly remember, wait, you were also given a data stick by Lieutenant Adams with all of his investigation notes. And you kind of turn back and you look in your hands and you look into the car you've been moving stuff in, and you notice it's not there, and you go back and you search for it and you find that it's kind of stuck between the seat and the cup holders, and you're able to reach down, pick it up, and get back to your car.
Whew. Yeah, he thinks to himself, oh God, that would have been horrible. And he reaches down and he grabs it and looks at it and kind of gives it a little toss up in the air and grabs it again, holds onto it, puts it back into his inside pocket, and heads back over to the car.
Nice. And then with that, do you guys... what do you do next? Sorry.
Yeah, and as he gets into the car, he looks over at Elias, looks back at Boris. Of course, he would have taken any kind of starter if it's still keys or whatever we needed to get the car operational from the dead bodies. Looking for...
Are you going to investigate the dead bodies?
Oh, yeah. That's what I was going to next. I was like, well, first off, we would have probably investigated the bodies, look for any kind of identifying information or anything important they might have on them.
Okay, sounds good. So give me a Notice plus Wisdom roll for that as well. Nice. You notice that they all have. They do not have any identification cards on them. They do not have wallets. There seems to be loose change, and there seems to be like a black credit card looking like thing. You know that mostly that's like it just has credits on them which are untraceable that they could be using. They have no other identifying marks anywhere on their combat or their weapons or anything of that sort. And you kind of rifle through their pockets, and you just see that one of them actually has a data slab, and you kind of turn it on and you try to access it, and you see that it is actually password protected. And that's all you find.
Okay, so we get everything. We get back to the car. And once we get in the car and we get it started, knowing we have to get somewhere safe, Purcell looks at Boris, looks at Elias. But just before leaving, he takes a long look out at his car, sitting there, beat up, smoking, smashed. And he sighs before pulling out and leaving this area.
Sounds good. So you guys leave the dock area and make it out onto the streets of Icarus. Go ahead and feel free to roleplay anything else you would want to discuss at this point. And where are you guys headed to? Also, you can let me know.
I think we were headed back to where I could find the hacker. What was his name? I'm sorry.
Quinn.
Quinn.
At the Untitled, yes.
At the Untitled, yeah.
And in the previous session, Elias said that he knows someone at the Untitled that can help you find this person, Quinn.
Gabe?
Yep, Gabe. Elias, you also know that while your wounds are, at least the blood flow, you're able to, with the medkit, able to kind of staunch the blood flow. You definitely need to get to a clinic and get patched up. If you continue at this rate, you will start to lose more health by the end of the day.
And let's actually make that a primary goal right now, getting help for Elias.
Okay. Boris is in the back, sitting quietly, looking at both of you. Elias, you know that there's actually a clinic in Little Wing that is set up just for these things.
Yeah. Elias is next to Boris in the back seat, and it's almost like a scene out of Pulp Fiction. Elias squirming around like blood everywhere, and Boris might be looking at him. Hey man, it's not as bad as it looks. And he kind of points towards the front seat. That motherfucker, he pays real well. So if I get patched up, might just be worth it. Hey Purcell, I know a little place up here. 2 lefts, take a right after that. It's at the end of the cul-de-sac. It's a little joint I know of. They've patched me up before, and let's just say that they fly under the radar.
And Purcell will follow his directions. Take the turns that he tells me to take. Just ensuring that he gets Elias the help he needs.
All right. So you drive through the city, through the streets of Icarus, following Elias's directions. Eventually, you kind of pull to a different side of Little Wing, further away from the general area that you have frequented, both of you, before. Elias has been here, but Purcell is the first time in this particular area of Icarus. It's a very like a run-down building with just a single entrance in. There's a green green sign, universal plus sign of a medic. The 3 of you kind of burst in. You're kind of shown through different rooms, and eventually Elias is able to like kind of swipe a few badges, and he's allowed in. He seems to be a member of this place, and you guys are taken to like a clinical room where there's a doctor who starts working on Elias's wounds. He applies local anesthetics, and he starts first cleaning the wound, and then when he sees that it's actually a bullet wound, he gives Elias a big swig of pretty hard liquor, and then starts extracting the bullet fragments from his side.
Purcell is watching this and grimaces just slightly as the doctor reaches in and starts digging around, looking for bullet fragments to pull out. But as he's doing that, he leans over to Boris and kind of whispers to him, "You need to start talking and tell me everything you know."
Well, you ask the questions. What do you want to know? About what?
I want to know what happened on the docks. I want to know who's fighting in this city. I want to know what's going on with the police. I want to know what happened to goddamn Elias. I want to know a lot of things, Boris. But right now, I have you right here. So I want you to tell me everything that you know. What happened on the docks?
Listen, man, I don't know what Elias told you, but I'm just his contact on the docks. When I know a certain container comes in that can make us some money, I kind of point him to it, and he does what he does, and I get paid on the side. All right? Now, he asked me to come and see you guys on the docks. I got there, and what do I find? A gunfight. I didn't ask for this shit.
What do you know about that warehouse fire?
The warehouse. Oh, that's what you want to know. I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I want to know everything about it, Boris.
Well, they took out an entire warehouse and 3 others surrounding it. I don't know who they were. But basically, my sources tell me, there's a lot of gossip. I don't know how much of it is true, but this is what I know. Okay? Take my word for whatever it's worth. This is what I know. I can't say if it's true or not. Got it?
Just spit it out.
Okay. So there's some heavies, right? Some really heavy group. They've taken over a warehouse, and they have a couple of people there that it seems they were torturing them. I don't know for what, right? And then they had these two other guys, these Eastern European looking motherfuckers, out there as well with some massive computing equipment. I don't know, right? And then I hear 4 individuals, just 4. That's all it was. 4 individuals just came in, took out all these heavies, right? And proceeded to blast their way into that warehouse. They killed everyone in there. Everyone. There was no one alive when they left that warehouse, is what I heard. And then they come out, right, these 4 individuals, and they're surrounded. Right, this is what I hear now. I don't know. Again, you can see you see what I'm saying. 4 people. How can 4 people take out a group? But they took them out anyway, right? They come out, and they are then surrounded by more people. It seems. That's when helicopters come in, start strafing the place, blow this place to shit. And what I hear, those 4 made it out, and it seems they had a 5th with them. See, even I don't believe this shit I'm telling you, but that's the news on the docks.
And no one knows who these people were?
No one who's smart and wants to live wants to know who these people are. You get my drift, man? They came in and they took out a warehouse full of people, and then they left, killing 3 warehouses in the process. Do you think I want to know who they are?
And Purcell looks over at Elias to see how the doctor's doing. And then looks back to Boris. You're not giving me a lot here, Boris. I'm not sure why Elias said we should talk.
Okay. All right. Elias is solid. He's a good man. But I don't know you.
Well, you think Elias is a good man. You don't know me. But you just saw me do everything I could to save Elias. And you, as a matter of fact. So whether or not you know me, you know what I've done. That might be worth something to you, shouldn't it?
It is. All right. This is something else I heard. Of the 4, one of them was a woman. She was wearing a mask. I don't know who she was. And 2 of them actually used swords, it seems. Again, I don't know who they were, why they were bringing swords to a gunfight. But that's what I heard.
And when he says that, Purcell's eyes perk up a little bit. He raises an eyebrow and starts remembering what Adams was saying about some of the men being killed by swords.
Mm-hmm.
I understand you don't want to talk about who these people are. No one wants to know who they are because they want to stay alive. Is there anyone who might know who these people are?
All I know was that the heavies that they had a weird symbol. The heavies that were killed, the ones that they shot them to shit. And he kind of draws the symbol out on a paper and it looks exactly like the Daybreak Syndicate, and that information you already know.
God damn it. I'm going in circles here. How's he doing, Doc?
And when you say that, the doc is like, you can see that he's actually stapling the stitches, stapling the wound up close. And Elias is like kind of delirious. He's like, yeah, whatever Elias wants to RP that part.
Yeah, Elias is saying, "Oh yeah, man, I've been through some shit, but Detective Purcell, he has a keen fashion sense and a keen eye for looking after his fellow man. I'll tell you what, he he has it where it counts. If you're shot and left dying on the street, he's not going to leave you for dead. He's not going to leave you to be cleaned up by some Russian motherfucker like Boris over there, who himself is very upstanding. Detective Purcell, you should trust him. Me and Boris go way back, way back. Lots of vodka between us. Lots of vodka, lots of women, lots of fisticuffs, but I'm not going to mention that, Boris."
And Purcell looks just a little confused and annoyed by Elias just rambling on like this.
The
And
doc
then he looks.
stands up and he says, just give him a couple of hours, he'll snap out right out of it, and he'll be back to full operation.
And Purcell nods and says, "Thanks, Doc." And then looks back at Boris. He's right. I won't leave him out in the street to die. You, on the other hand, I don't know. I saved you this time. I might not next time. And he just looks at Boris, shakes his head, and then goes over to Elias. How are you feeling, Elias?
I'm feeling like I'm on cloud 9, man. How are you doing, Detective Columbo?
Elias, why did you want us to meet with Boris? What information do you think he had?
And he looks at you and is almost ready to pass out and go to sleep.
Elias! And he shakes him.
And you want to help me out here?
No, so go ahead. Whatever you think, Elias, Boris, whatever you go, I can work with it.
No, I see. I have my notes here. I seriously can't remember. Quasduno, neuro.
So let's put it this way. Elias feels Boris knows everything that happens on the docks, and kind of you can role play that way, and then Purcell you can turn around and appropriately deal with Boris.
Yeah, Boris. He kind of turns to him. His eyes are very bleary and half closed. He says, "If you're looking for someone that knows what goes on the docks, Boris is your man. Not much gets past him." He kind of starts to drift off again.
As he starts drifting off, Purcell just whips around, walks right up to Boris and grabs him by the collar and continues walking, using his momentum to push Boris backwards until he's holding him up against a wall. He's got him pushed up against the wall, holding onto his collar. He said, "All right, Boris. Elias says you know things, and you're not telling me things. So either you're calling him a liar, or you don't know shit. Which is it?"
Fucking Elias. Go ahead and give me a. Are you trying to threaten him? What's the?
Yeah, I'm gonna just try and intimidate him into just fucking talking.
Nice. So 1 minute. I would say give me a. I would say give me a talk plus charisma as you are you're pulling the bad cop on him right now.
Okay. Okay, I was looking at something else. Sorry. A what? I'm sorry.
Talk plus charisma. Whew, nice. So you have him kind of backed up against the wall. You're basically, your face is in his face, and he's like, "Oh, okay, man, okay, all right. Fuck. Okay, I will give you what you want. What can you give me in return? Because once I give this to you, I cannot be in Icarus anymore. I need to fucking leave."
And Purcell looks at him and smiles. Is that all? You just need a way to leave? And he pulls out his data pad and he connects with Boris, I'm assuming, who has one. I'm assuming most people have one. It's ubiquitous.
Yep, yes, they should do.
And just using proximity, he connects to Boris and he sends over an amount, not as much as he's given Elias, but a decent amount of money. And as soon as Boris hears the chime of his data pad, Detective Purcell just looks at him and says, "Check that. Is it enough to get out of this town?"
Whoa. Who the fuck are you, mister? What? Yeah, this is more than enough for me to fucking disappear. Oh yeah. And you see him, look at his data pad and he starts like typing at it furiously. Give me a location I can drop a file to you.
I'm sorry, a location?
Yes. Do you have a server, an email, something that can send you a file? It's a video file. It's pretty big.
And Purcell thinks about it for just a minute. And he gives him his kind of his universal login file or whatever.
Yeah.
That will essentially download to his main server that he has back at his apartment, but that he could also access remotely on his own data pad.
Perfect. So he kind of takes that information, he types in something, it's transmitting. It takes about 5 minutes for it to finish transmitting. Done. And you get like a notification on your data slab about a file that's been received on your like central data server, your personal central data server.
And as soon as it lets me know that, I immediately open it up to take a look. I look up at Boris over my nose there, and look back down at my data pad as it's loading.
And you see the file opens, and actually it's a video file, and it's a video file that's kind of you can make out it's actually a security footage recording. The date at the bottom right matches the date of the day that the warehouse exploded. The first few minutes there's nothing much happening, and you kind of start fast forwarding it, and then you see a car pull up and 4 individuals pop out. You see them exchange gunfire, and you can see there are 2 of them with swords. One of them is a lady with a mask, and then you start seeing them actually as the security footage pans. You can see them going into the warehouse, and then into the warehouse district, right? And then there's nothing for the next maybe half an hour or so, and then while that's happening, you see in that half an hour, about 15 minutes into that half an hour, multiple ATVs with like men with high caliber weapons start kind of forming up, kind of surrounding that entrance to the warehouse district. And then at the 30-minute mark, you see these 4 individuals pop out. And when they come out, when they were going in, their backs were to the camera, but when they come out, that's when you see all their 4 faces clearly. And you then see that there's a standoff, 4 of them with these multiple ATVs with people on them with heavy machine guns. And then in a distance, you start seeing, not in distance, like from the out of the camera shot, you suddenly start seeing like helicopters descend and start shooting rockets at these ATVs, taking them out. And you see one of them kind of lands, picks up the lady with the mask, and she's has this kind of a beaten down person that she's carrying. And the 2 of them load into the helicopter with the 3rd individual, who's a much bigger, bulkier chap. And the 3 of them take off, and as the helicopters take off, it kind of turns and all 6 of them fire rockets into the warehouse district. Two of the other 2 get into a car. One of them is a male with a sword. The other one is a surly looking fellow smoking a cigarette, and he has what looks like a combat shotgun in his hand. And the 2 of them leave that area in a car. And at which point the camera, the video clip ends.
And Purcell, throughout the whole thing, his eyes are just getting wider and wider, and a small grin starts coming across his face. And then when it finishes, he looks up at Boris. Are you fucking kidding me? How long have you had this footage?
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't know what you're talking about. What footage?
The police have been investigating this, and you've had this footage the whole time.
I do not know what you're talking about.
You've been withholding evidence from a crime scene investigation.
Again, I do not know what you're talking about. I never met you. I do not know your name. I don't know what you're referencing to. And to me, it looks like our business here is done. Elias is on the mend. You seem to have gotten something. I seem to have gotten something. Let's call it an evening, shall we?
And Purcell looks at Boris. You're a piece of shit, Boris, and you make me sick. But we have a deal. You better leave, Icarus, and never come back. You have enough money to stake you wherever you want to go. Now fucking scram.
Well, a good day to you, Columbo. And when he says that, his face just is like very quizzical. He doesn't even know what it means, what it references. And then he leaves. He kind of turns out and takes a left, and he's gone.
And Purcell comes back over to Elias, and he just goes over the footage. And as he's going over the footage again, he uses the back channel to Adams. That I believe Adams gave him a back channel to talk to him privately.
Yes, Adams gave you a cell phone number that you could
That's
reach.
right.
Yep.
I used that to contact Adams and let him know, Detective Adams, I've got a lead. I'm going to follow up on it, but I think we have a pretty big piece of loose string to tug on. I'm going to meet up with your hacker, see if he can't help us with any other information, but I'm pretty sure we're on the right path now. And after he has that conversation or leaves that message for Adams, he just goes over what he has, and he wants to start running facial recognition software. If there's any identifying plates or anything on the vehicle, he wants to start running that.
So
And-
I just want to pause you there. the question I would like to ask you here is: do you want to run this on like your resources within Icarus for stuff like this is limited? If you run it on the police systems, like openly, you know what the issues there are. Do you want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
run this to the hacker or?
No, no, I'm gonna run it through the hacker.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay, sounds good.
So that's more of then rephrase that. That's more of what my plan is then to do, is
Perfect.
to run facial recognition, vehicle identification, as soon as I get access to the hacker and his rig, so I don't have to run it on the police rig.
All right, sounds good. So at this point, Elias, you're still kind of drowsy, but you're laying back, and let's say a few hours pass. Purcell, you kind of sit there, looking at the video over and over again, looking at
Oh yeah.
all the faces, memorizing all their features, and a couple of hours pass by. You also kind of in between doze off a little, and it's now kind of getting later into the evening when Elias is, he gets up. Elias, you get up and you kind of look around. Um, you're not quite sure where you are first, and then kind of slowly comes back to you when you move and you feel that pain on your side. And then you see Detective Purcell sitting there hunched looking at his data slab. Both of you have choices now. Elias, you had to go back to the Untitled. No, you had to go and meet this individual called Zamir, to find out more about this hacker Neuroshima. Purcell, he needs to go to the Untitled to make contact with this hacker called Quinn. So how do you guys want to go about it? Feel free to role play and let's take it from there.
So Purcell, he's obviously after Elias is starting to feel a little better, coming out from under the drugs and everything else. He lets Elias know that he has a lead, and he knows Elias had other plans, but I want you to stay by my side at least until you're better. At least you can be on your own. I know you have things that you want to do, but I think it's better if you stick with me right now, Elias.
And Elias is feeling a little more clear-headed now. He groans as he leans up on the side of the operating table and throws back the sheets. He looks around for the doc. He's not to be seen. Looks around for Boris. Of course, Boris has disappeared as well. Well, Detective, like I said, I didn't follow your advice once. Look what I got to show. Looks here about 20 staples or so. Not to mention what's probably going on inside of my guts. Yeah, if you want me to stick by your side, I'm more happy to do that. But at this point, I think you're going to be giving me more of a service than I'm going to be giving you. And he kind of looks around and where's my hat?
And Purcell looks around the room, and he smiles as he sees the hat over on the table, and he goes and he picks up the hat, and he holds it in his hands. He walks back over. He's holding it in both of his hands, and he takes one hand and runs his index finger and thumb across the bridge of the hat. Then he brushes the hat off at the back of his hand. He brushes it off at the back of his hand. He flips it around and hands it to Elias.
Elias puts it on. There we go. Feel like I'm one of the gang, Columbo. So what happened to Boris? Good guy, yeah? He give you what you need? No problems?
Yeah, Elias. Boris was a good guy. You'll never see him again. And Purcell turns to walk out.
And Elias just has a quizzical look on his face and shrugs. And as he hops down from the operating table, he winces a little bit and follows the detective out of the room.
Awesome. So you guys are headed to the Untitled first or to Zamir first? How do you
Wanna
want to do this?
Go see Gabe.
All right. So Gabe it is. All right. Let me move you guys. So you guys head back out into the streets of Icarus, and the Untitled is not very far from. It's all kind of in the same area. Little Wing, Untitled, this clinic you guys are at. Purcell, you're driving, and Elias is giving you directions, and eventually you get to the alleyway that's right beside the Untitled.
And Purcell scans the area, looks around before getting out of the vehicle, and then once he does, he gives a more thorough scan of the area and kneels down back into the door and nods to Elias, letting him know it's okay to get out.
Elias does get out of the car, steps foot down onto the sidewalk, and his boot goes into something very squishy, and he kind of has a disgusted look on his face, but then shrugs, takes out a cigarette, lights it, and walks out into the cool night air.
Nice. Elias, you lead Purcell down the alley towards where you know the Untitled is, and eventually you get inside. You see the place is very similar but a lot more bustling now. When you were here last, it was about 4 a.m. in the morning. Now it's kind of more like 5 p.m. in the evening. There's a lot more people. You can see Gabe is busy behind the bar, serving patrons, and you guys are just standing around looking around. Detective, give me a notice plus wisdom.
Oh, that was the wrong one.
Oh, right. What is your wisdom?
Let me.
I think it's something similar. Wisdom. Yeah, I think it's your plus 2 wisdom plus. Okay, I see. Perfect. Yeah. So you see, kind of spread around this bar, there are certain individuals that are kind of keeping an eye over the place. They are dressed in like street punk style. They're standing, like most of them are like leaning against the pillars, leaning against a wall with one of their foot raised against the wall, arms kind of crossed across their chest. And they're just keeping an eye on the place. You get the sense that they are they're the quote-unquote bouncers of the place.
And,
go ahead.
Yeah, as Elias kind of walks in, he walks in and Purcell's behind him. You can see the neon kind of filtering down through the smoke. And Elias may see a few people he knows at the bar and gives them a hey. And sees Gabe there at the bar, the hey. And then he kind of turns around to Purcell and says, "Hey, listen here, detective. Back then we were in a gunfight. I much appreciate it. But here, I'm in my element. Follow my lead. Try not to look so. Try not to look so starched. Is that a word, starched? You look a little stiff, sir.
And
relax,
when he says that,
not so robotic."
When he says that, Purcell stiffens his back and stands up straighter.
Jesus Christ, what am I working with here? Alright, come on. Let's just hope one of these misfits doesn't take care of us. He kind of holds up the air quotes before we talk to Gabe.
And Purcell leans in. All right, Elias. Take the lead. show me what you can get done.
Your wish is my command, detective. I only have one question for you. What are you drinking tonight?
Whatever you're having, Elias. Whatever you're having.
Ah, me and the bartender have a long tradition of a drink. Just come with me. Come with me. Kind of stumbles up to the bar. You can tell that he's still kind of favoring his left side, and he kind of sidles up to the bar and catches Gabe's eye and holds up, the sign for 2, and gives a nod of his hat.
Gabe catches your eye. He nods also, and he points you towards the corner of the bar, kind of in this direction. He looks up to one of the bouncers and kind of gives him a head nod. That guy steps away. Eventually, Gabe kind of handles a few of the customers and then walks up to you guys. Ah, Elias, it is good to see you back. Pretty soon. You had a chance to talk to Zamir?
Not yet. Just stop by for some refreshments, Gabe. This is my buddy Purcell.
Ah,
Purcell just nods.
well, welcome to the Untitled. What can I get you, gentlemen?
My usual. Basil Hayden's. Let's make it a double. And for both of us, huh?
All right. And he kind of walks back to the bar. He again reaches to the third shelf up top. He pulls the basil Hayden down. And it's now little less than when you last saw it because you guys drank from it. He brings the bottle over, puts 2 tumblers in front of you guys, and pours a double in each. Ice, gentlemen.
And, Elias shakes his head and looks to Purcell.
And Purcell just puts a hand up as if to say no.
Very well then. What brings you to the Untitled, apart from the basil?
Well, he kind of looks around. Is there anybody kind of within earshot? Or if he lowers his voice, can he kind of...
No, so you realize the way he's positioned you guys, he has his bouncer kind of move away, and at this part of the bar there's no one sitting. You get the sense that this is where he does his business, away from any prying ears or eyes.
He said, yeah, Gabe, yeah. Purcell and I, well, we go way back. At least a couple of days, right? But
Purcell just nods again.
we've been talking, about when I was here about a few days ago. The lady in the mask, Quasidomo, what happened all around that entire affair. And I'm real foggy on the details, Gabe, and I want to stay that way. But I want to put you and Purcell together here, have a meeting of the minds. I'm going to sit back and sip my whiskey as you have a conversation. Would that be all right?
Well, why not? A friend of Elias is a friend of mine. And if there is credits to be made in this transaction, then all the better. And he kind of gives you a look, Purcell, when he says the word credits.
I put kind of Purcell in a tight spot. He has credits, lots of them.
And Purcell looks over at him and just raises his eyebrow.
Well. Anyone with lots of credits is a good friend of Gabe's. So how may I help you, Purcell?
So Purcell pulls out his data pad and just sets it flat on the bar. And he types in a number that has 3 zeros on it. And he flips it around and shows it to Gabe. Gabe, I don't know you, But Elias speaks highly of you, and I was given your name by someone else who also says you can do something for me. This is just a talk. If you can do what I actually need you to do, I'll add a couple more zeros on here. But right now, if you just talk to me, hear me out, this is yours. And he pushes it forward again so that he can see it.
Gabe looks at you and the credits you're offering. It is a tempting offer, Purcell, and I would like those credits. But let's talk first, because to me, if someone like you walks in here with that much credits, you can only mean one thing: corpo. And corpos and I do not mix. But let's have a conversation first before we jump to any conclusions. What say?
Sure, Gabe. That sounds fine. I'm sure you already know, as a lot of people seem to know, but don't really want to talk about, the warehouse explosion that happened here a while back. Gang war, they're calling it. Turf war. Down at the docks. And Purcell, explains the which one he's talking about.
Purcell, you can see his face tighten. You don't need to notice, but you wisdom roll, because you've interrogated, talked, cajoled, threatened, coerced a whole lot of people in your line of work, and you see that Gabe is tending towards someone who can get difficult to work with depending on how this conversation goes. But when you talk about the warehouse explosions, his face definitely tightens.
Yeah, I've seen that look before, Gabe. Not a lot of people want to talk about it. It seems like people end up dead. But I need some information, Gabe. I need information that only you can provide using your rig. You see, I'm just going to be honest with you, Gabe. I'm a detective. I'm law. And I am here to investigate what happened. I'm not here to investigate you. I'm not here to ruin anything that you might be doing. I don't care about anything that you're doing. What I care about are your skills. What I care about is your ability to find information for me. And let me have that information so that I can track down whoever did this. And when I say whoever did this, I use my finger to swipe over to another image of the CCTV footage of the warehouse on fire and blowing up.
What is on that image?
Right now, it's just everyone is gone. I just went to an image of the warehouse of what was left before the cameras went out.
Okay, perfect. So he says, I do not know what Elias has told you. I am a data dealer. If you're looking for information, I can give it to you. If you want to hack information, I am not that individual. As far as the warehouse and the fires you're talking about, I have nothing to do with it. But you have not yet asked me a specific question, Detective Purcell, lawman.
And Purcell takes a slow drink from his glass and sets it down and uses two fingers to just push it off to the side. He looks at him, then he looks at Elias. He bites his lip just a little bit and he looks back at Gabe. And he puts his hand on his data pad and he swipes over to another image. And this time the image is of the vehicle with the 4 people. The 4 strangers that Purcell is trying to identify. front and center on the data pad. And he looks around to make sure no one else is looking or watching. And he looks at Gabe. I need to know who these people are, Gabe. I need facial recognition. I need vehicle identification. I need names, locations if I can. Like I said, I'm the law. But I think the precinct is compromised. And that's why I was sent to you. Because you're not compromised. No one's got in with you. Apparently, you can be trusted. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm offering you money for information.
I just want to hold you there. This line of questioning is absolutely fine, but I just want to remind you that you're looking for Quinn. Quinn is the hacker. Gabe is the one who runs the joint.
Oh, that's right. It's Quinn, not Gabe.
Yeah.
I got the names mixed up. Sorry.
Yeah, but let's continue down this road and we'll get there. But just want to refresh your memory on that. So.
And this whole conversation is meant for Quinn.
No. Yeah. But I think this is perfect in its own way, and you will see why soon. But I knew you know the word Quinn, but I also figured that you might have forgotten with all this information that's flying right now.
Yeah, it's a lot right now, but Quinn is what I meant. But I'm still gonna tell Gabe all of this. That this is what I'm looking for. This is what I need, and I need to know if he can put me in contact with Quinn.
Yep. So we've not yet got to the Quinn part, but let's just deal with what you've just said. Okay. Okay. So he looks at you. He looks at Elias. He looks at the screen. Is this some kind of a fucking joke? He looks at Elias. I thought you were a man of the street, someone that can be trusted to work with. You come in here not a day ago asking about a certain group of people that you are looking for, someone of your friends. And you come back a day later with a fucking lawman showing me images of the very same fucking people you are looking for, Elias. What the fuck is going on? Are you guys fucking shitting me right now?
And Purcell looks just a little confused and looks over at Elias. What's he talking about, Elias?
Bo, you there?
Bo?
Sorry, I was muted. I was taking a leak earlier, so I had to mute myself. So Elias pushes his stool back. You can hear it kind of screech across the floor, and kind of stands up and says, "Listen, Gabe, you can trust me. We shared drinks and conversation together. Purcell, I get it. No, you shouldn't. Purcell, I said you shouldn't have said anything. But there are lawmen and there are lawmen, Gabe. And like Purcell said, his precinct has been compromised. He's on our side. He's trying to get to the truth. And he has credits to spend."
Purcell grabs the data pad and flips it around and shows it to Elias. What does he mean you were looking for these people, Elias?
Well, this is what they call maybe two boats crossing in the night. Purcell, old friend of mine, Valentine is his name. I was looking for him too. The names came up. Yeah, it's just coincidence, probably.
And Gabe is looking at you, Elias, and he's got this look on his face. He's not sure if you are the most intelligent man he's come across or the biggest moron he has come across. And he's kind of sitting there and thinking about those two choices, and he looks at Purcell and show me that image again. And this time, both of you pay attention.
And Purcell flips the pad around so that Gabe can look at it.
Gabe takes his fat, pudgy finger and first places it on an individual in that image. This individual is hunched over, looks to be battered and bruised, being carried by two other people. That, Elias, is the hacker who contacted Quasi-Domo, the one you were supposedly looking for. Then he takes his pudgy finger and points it to the woman in the mask. This is the woman in the mask I was telling you about, who was sent here by Zamir to do some dealings with some software. She was in this bar with the hacker you were looking for. And this other, and he kind of moves his fat pudgy finger to the edge of the four individuals. And this mean looking scary ass motherfucker with the shotgun, he was the other person in this bar with these two when they first came in. He stood by the fucking door and cased the place.
And Purcell looks over at Elias. You know, Elias, I respect that you have your own deals going on, that you have your own issues going on. You're looking for people too. What I don't understand is why you're looking for the same people I'm looking for. I don't understand why our own personal goals are crossing like this. Doesn't make much sense to me. But right now, I don't have time to figure it out. What I do need to figure out are the names and locations of these people. Gabe, I need a name of someone who can identify these people. Someone capable of facial recognition, vehicle identification. I was given the name of someone, and he lowers his voice even more than he already is and kneels down. I need to know about someone named Quinn.
And at that point, his face grimaces and his eyes narrow, and his eyes bore into you. Fuck. He says that, and then before he can kind of check himself, he instinctively looks behind you and kind of across your shoulder. Detective Purcell, give me a notice plus wisdom. Nice. So Gabe, when you say that name, he reacts. His facial muscles tighten up. He kind of lets out an outwardly fuck, and he looks up instinctively behind your right shoulder towards the back wall, and your detective senses know that he's actually made eye contact with someone that you're looking for. Even though he's not said it, you just know that people have this way about them when they're kind of pushed into a corner. Certain instincts cannot be suppressed before they kind of just take over. And you coolly and calmly turn around, and you see in the back of the bar there's an individual kind of sitting in the corner in the shadow with a hoodie kind of drawn across their face.
And Purcell, after noticing Gabe's facial expressions and his the line of his eyesight, and looks over and sees who he's looking at, he slowly turns back around to Gabe. He just smiles at him. Thanks, Gabe. And he hits send on that money figure that he had shown Gabe earlier.
And he kind of steps back when he realizes what he has done, and he looks at Elias, and if looks could kill Elias, I think he would be dead right now. and he turns around from the both of you, picks up the bottle of basil, the drinks around the house, and don't bother coming back. And he kind of walks away and puts the basil back on the third shelf and starts helping some other patrons.
And Purcell scoops up his pad and grabs his drink and starts heading over to the person sitting in the corner.
All right. Elias, what are you doing?
He looks a little crestfallen as the Gabe takes the bottle of basil away. He's prepared to show his scars and staples. How the lawman has stuck up for him, but he figures at this point that that sort of proof in a place like this doesn't carry much weight. So he shrugs and he continues to sip his drink. After all, they're on the house, and as Purcell goes to speak with the cloaked figure in the back, Elias is going to be very aloof at the bar. Keep an eye out for him.
All right. Purcell, you reach that table, and this individual is kind of, sitting by themselves, head down, just drinking quietly.
And with their head down, drinking quietly, Purcell walks up, and as their head is down, Purcell brings up the image of the four faces, and without saying a word, without sitting down, without saying anything, sets the pad down in front of her face as she's looking down. And then once she looks up at him, he just looks down at this person and says, "I need to know who they are."
And with that, the screen fades to black, and we bring.
Oh, fuck you!
So good.
Oh,
Nice.
God damn it.